what on earth is happening with this PPE order from Turkey? It was announced by the Communities Secretary, your boss, Robert Jenrick, on Saturday that it was arriving in the UK on Saturday. Turkey say the order was only put in on Sunday. We still don't have it. What's the reality?
Good morning, Susanna. Well, the reality is that a RAF plane left Brize Norton yesterday evening to go and to collect this order, which obviously we want to get into the NHS as soon as we possibly can, and that's what we're determined to deliver.
Well, where is it? Where is it, Mr. Clark?
It's in Turkey.
Yes, but why is it in Turkey? Mr. Clark, what day was this protective equipment ordered?
I don't know that, Susanna. All I know is that because I'm not responsible for procuring PPE. But
you're representing the British government this morning, Mr. Clark. You've been doing all the media airways. You're supposed to be across all of this. You're not just representing your little area. You're representing the government. Where is this? Where is this plane? Where is the PPE?
The plane is in Turkey. The PPE is in Turkey. It will shortly be back in the UK.
When will it be here? We've been told for days now it's coming. When's it going to get here?
I don't have the flight schedule, but it will be with us as quickly as it can.
Well, hang on. Will it be here today, tomorrow, next week, a month? When?
Well, given that the plane flew out last night, I would anticipate it'll be back in very short order.
You don't know when?
I don't have that schedule.
The reason it matters is you've got a picture in today's Daily Mail. You've got two nurses in Yorkshire who are wearing cagoules because they have no PPE to protect them.
Well, obviously, we put 1 billion pieces of PPE into both the NHS and social care systems over the last few weeks. We recognise this is an extraordinarily difficult time, but we are straining every sinew both to support the NHS through our domestic
Would you send one of your family, Mr. Clark? I don't want to interrupt you, but would you send one of your family into a COVID-19 ward wearing a cagoule?
Clearly, the NHS has faced considerable strains in this regard, Piers, but we are sourcing every piece of PPE that we possibly can.
OK, so how come... So, Mr. Clark, if we're sourcing every piece of PPE that we possibly can, how come UK wholesalers say their warehouses are full of millions of pieces of PPE, which they have bought from China, which they have tried to contact the UK government about, but they are now delivering back to our EU neighbours because they can't get through to the UK government? We have PPE right here. We're told by government ministers you're straining every sinew to get hold of every single piece. And because we're not getting hold of every single piece, we're shipping it back out again. How can that be allowed to happen?
Well, the very clear message to every such business is that they should contact the Cabinet Office to offer this resource, and that is what we would absolutely want to see happen. I, as a citizen and as a minister, want to see every possible piece of PPE that we can get sent to the front line. They should contact the Cabinet Office and they will be followed up with.
UK firms say they have no choice but to keep selling the life-saving equipment abroad because their offers of help have been repeatedly ignored by the government, according to The Telegraph. You're ignoring those people who have the PPE right here in this country.
Well, I think all of these companies need to contact the Cabinet Office and we will get back to them. That's a solemn pledge that I can offer. Obviously, we will make sure that these issues are followed up.
They've been contacting the British government and you've been ignoring them. So they're now actually shipping out millions of pieces of PPE to European neighbours when we have our nurses in cagoules. Let me ask you one question, Mr. Clark. How many health workers and care workers in this country have so far lost their lives to COVID-19?
The figure for that, Piers, is 49. And obviously, every single one of those cases represents a human tragedy. We are determined we will understand in each case what has happened.
You don't even know how many have died, though, do you? Because it's over 100.
No, that is the official government statistic.
But we know from reporting in the media, and thank God we are doing this, that it's over 100. So you are actually underestimating by 50%. You think it's under 50. The real figure of every reported death that we have seen, which are demonstrably people working in the NHS or care workers, because all their stories have been published, and the fact they died of COVID-19, it's over 100. Why do you continue to have an accounting system that makes it look like the situation is half as bad as it is?
The figure is 49 for the NHS. That's 49 confirmed. Clearly, we work to reconcile all the figures. We do not, when someone is in hospital and tragically they die of PPE, always know their occupation at the outset. So if they've worked in the care sector, for example,
why don't you just read the newspapers and you'll find all the information you need? They're being published on a daily basis in every paper.
With great respect to the newspaper industry, it doesn't quite hold to the same standards of data collection as the government.
It seems to me your data collection is absolutely appalling. Let me ask you another question, which I asked a minister yesterday. How many people in care homes in this country have lost their lives to COVID-19?
We are collating that data so that we get an accurate figure rather than fuel speculation. It's obviously
what's the current figure that you've got?
Well, we know that the total number of deaths in the UK is
I didn't ask you that. I said how many people have died in care homes? Our most vulnerable elderly people. We just interviewed a wonderful man in a care home. I just need to know from the British government how many people have died in care homes from COVID-19. It's not a difficult question. Shouldn't be difficult to find out.
I'm trying to explain the difference between how we get that figure, if you'll let me, which is that we know the number who die in hospitals, and then we have the ONS data, which comes at a time lag for the overall number of deaths in society at any given time. We're working to close that data lag.
So how many is it?
Well, we don't yet know that figure because the ONS data, which shows
so you have no idea how many people are dying in care homes in this country. The reason it's important is if you add the estimated 7,500 people that are believed to have now died in our care homes to our current official death toll, we would be the second worst after the United States in the world for coronavirus deaths.
Well, if indeed those figures are right, and we obviously have to hold to a proper
Well, you haven't got a clue, have you?
Well, no,
you don't know.
Not fair, Piers. You are, I'm afraid, asking us to run ahead of where we can source proper data.
I'm saying the least you can do for people who lose their lives in care homes, in hospitals or at home from this hideous disease, the least you can do is have a system that allows you to have even a vague idea how many British people are dying in these places at the moment from coronavirus. And the government hasn't got a clue. And I find that shameful.
Well, I think, Piers, what matters is that we get the right PPE into the system. What matters is that we provide the right care. What matters is that we save jobs. What matters is that we shield the most vulnerable. And those are the things that we are doing. Getting into this battle about statistics, it's not the whole
They're not statistics,
story,
Mr. Clark. They are human lives. They are people's parents. They're people's grandparents, they're people's aunts, they're people's uncles. Don't you dare just call them statistics, because they're not.
And don't you dare try and turn this into something which it isn't. What I'm saying is that we are working very hard to make sure we have proper facts, which is what the government's job is.
Yeah, well, I suggest you work harder to get the information, because these people's lives matter. And so does the record of this government.